what can we already look at what has been accomplished and what is the benefit of what we've seen. Well, I mean, some people have been really damaged. Trump's damaged, but is there anything that, if nothing else happens, and Fadi and I talk about this with Democrats all the time as it relates to not taking your victories, right? We're so busy, we get something and we complain about what we didn't get as opposed to what we got. If we were to say three tangible things, what were our three victories that we have that will make a difference somehow? Not necessarily electorally. I'd love it to be electorally, but what are the three biggest takeaways that we feel that we should have gotten away, that we should say that was a great, successful, fulfilling hearing schedule that we had?
Well, I think what we're seeing here is, and I think when this committee was first orchestrated, again, the objective was to put together something very similar to what we saw with 9/11. That there needed to be a structure that, for posterity and historical purposes, that there needed to be a legislative component that would identify recommendations on how do we address this going forward. And already we see one of the components of that is that there's already been bipartisan legislation introduced that codifies actually what the vice president is supposed to do when actually certifying the election. So that's already been, I think, a massive victory heading into 2024 in terms of what we've seen legislatively. In terms of what people really want to see, and also I think another I think objective that has come out of this, going into these hearings, less than a majority of Americans actually believe that Donald Trump did not have any accountability for January 6th. Well, that has changed dramatically since these hearings. Now that number is nearly 60% of Americans, based on polling data, believe that President Donald Trump not only was involved, but actually should be charged. So I think what we're seeing here is there's been a massive sea change in terms of what's happening. And then if you look at where Democrats stand today, you go back before these hearings launched, Democrats were way underwater heading into the midterm elections. Now, a lot of where they are now is a result of, I think, some massive changes that we've seen, particularly from the Supreme Court on issues like on the Dobbs issue, which has overturned Roe v. Wade. But still, I think looking at how President Donald Trump not only orchestrated January 6th, but also how all of this played out, I think what it's showing now is, and based on what we're seeing in the polling data, there are many in the electorate, even senior citizens now, who simply don't trust Republicans to actually be in control of Washington. And so I think those are some tangible, fixtures that we're seeing play out from the January 6th committee. And also, I think what we're seeing from Liz Cheney, who's a boss, I mean, she is actually pushing. Because if we go back to, again, when this first started, what we're now learning, and the Justice Department, they have made clear it is policy. They do not talk about investigations. But one thing we know for certain is that Donald Trump, as well as his inner circle, were not being investigated. We know that because they have asked for, and our sources have already confirmed this, they have specifically asked the January 6th committee for their investigative materials. So we know that right now, that the Justice Department is literally playing catch up. So this has really shined a spotlight on, I think, a lot of what is happening in Washington, but also what was not happening in Washington.